Burton and VCU Director of Athletics, Ed McLaughlin. How are you?
I'm great. Happy to be back as usual.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We're here on a Tuesday because the Rams play on Thursday night. And as you have stated many times, you don't want to do the show on game day.
I'm a mess on game days. Doing this on a Tuesday instead of a Thursday game day is much better for me, and really probably better for the listener.
And it has nothing to do with half-price burger night.
Nothing to do, although that's just a great advantage.
That is a huge bonus. I don't think there's a question about it. Since the last time we were here, the Rams picked up a big win Saturday over Richmond in an atmosphere that was as good as any we've ever seen at the Siegel Center.
Yeah, it was electric, wasn't it? It was a really tremendous crowd, and I think internally we were a little nervous about an 11 a.m. start. It certainly did not stop any of our fans from getting ready to go, and the energy was crazy. And we had folks from ESPN there, sort of monitoring future possibilities for us, and the environment was tremendous, and our fans really, just put us over the edge, and in a rivalry game when you knew it was going to come down to the end, our fans really carried us through the entire time and really made it difficult for the visiting team.
Not just fans, how about students?
Yeah.
Fact, students don't get up before 11 on a Saturday. Fact.
Or in a class day either. Let's be serious.
And they're outstanding in a chilly, cold day to support their team.
There's a reason why we were the student section of the year last year, and why I think we're a pretty good odds-on favorite to get it again this year, just because our students are awesome. They were loud, they were fun. The blackout certainly made it a really enjoyable atmosphere, but it got our players going, and if you ask Bree or any of the other guys on the team, that energy that they brought really helped us for the first 10 minutes of the game.
They jumped out to an early lead. There was no slow start. And what I thought was really impressive is there really wasn't a counterpunch from Richmond throughout the game. There was one where they got it to 6, but for the most part, VCU was able to maintain that lead and maintain it somewhat of a cushion because they maintain that energy level and execution throughout the game.
Yeah, it really was an incredible energy level by us, and intensity and focus, and a lot of our crowd support got that to that place. Being up 12.5 against your city rival is, I don't think any of us expected that, right? So, we were very, very happy with that, and they did get it to 6, but we came back and got a make right then and there, and then got a stop, and then it was off to the races, and wasn't really that much of a question at that point from that point on.
You mentioned there was an ESPN executive in attendance, and it's no secret. VCU would love to get game day, Saturday morning pregame show, live at the Siegel Center. And certainly Saturday was probably a step in the right direction, but there's a lot of layers that go into that decision, right? And you know a little because you deal with TV negotiations.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers, obviously, and who you play is part of it, right? You have to have a good game and a really good opponent and frenzied atmosphere. And I was asked, well, how many people would show up? And if you played at an odd time, how many people would be there? And I said, well, we could probably play in the middle at Atlantic Ocean at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, and our fans would be 8,000 strong, right?
At the corner of Main and Vine.
At the corner of Main and Vine. It really, our fans are unbelievable. But, the folks from who did the broadcast and people at ESPN and just people who come to watch and say, this is one of the best consistent atmospheres in all college athletics. And it's the truth.
Yeah, there's no question about it, and certainly, hopefully, you have another environment like that. It's easy when it's your crosstown rival, but hopefully, you have a similar atmosphere Thursday night for Rhode Island, and next week, obviously, when you host George Washington in a very big return game.
There are two big games coming up between now and our next show, and the URI game here at home is one of those we could be looking ahead to St. Joe's. A lot of our fans are talking about Saturday and how big of a game that is.
Do it.
Hey, listen, we got to win Thursday night, and Thursday night against a talented team that hasn't quite found itself yet, and if they find themselves against us, watch out. They are talented, they are young, they play with a lot of energy, and obviously their coach has a lot of energy as well, and Danny certainly does.
Do you know him?
I do. Yeah, and he's a good coach. He really is, and so it's going to be a good test for us between that and then the GW game coming here. I've known Mike for a lot of years, and he's a heck of a coach, and obviously we need to try to make up for what they did to us at their place, which was a pretty convincing win on their part. So we got a couple big home games between now and the end of next week, and and we really got to be focused and sharp to be successful.
Because the league is not getting any easier. I updated the RPI standings. 5 A10 teams in the top 50, 8 in the top 70, and 9 in the top 80. I think it is.
Well, this is what we wanted, right? I mean,
exactly.
We leave the CAA because we want our team to be a national elite team, and the A10 is a national elite conference, and we are one of the better teams right now in the A10, and I think we have a chance at the end of all of this said and done to be one of the better teams. But this is what we wanted, and I think our fans really have come to appreciate the high level of basketball. I know our fans have some concerns about some of the whistles sometimes. We're going to put it at that.
As do all fans.
Yeah, as do all fans, right? But the level of basketball, and I would say, Greg, the level of coaching is just really, really good. I like our guy, and I'd match our guy up against anybody. I really would. But the level of coaching is tremendous. So it's the Atlantic 10's not getting any easier, although we've been through a really, really tough stretch the last 3 weeks. The Atlantic 10's not getting any easier as we go forward.
No question about it. One last thing on the game. Briante Weber breaks a 29-year-old school record. He's now the all-time leader in career steals, and I know that you took the time to learn a lot about VCU history, the history of basketball at VCU, and certainly the name Rolando Lamb is
absolutely
one that comes up. It's just an amazing that Bree was able to do that in less than 3 years.
The fact that he basically did it in 2.5 years, and last year I think he averaged something like 17 or 18 minutes a game last year. So it's not as if he's playing 40 minutes a game as well. His maturity as a leader, as a student athlete, as a player, as our point guard, has certainly dictated how we've been good in the last 3-4 weeks. And what he's been able to do as a junior, breaking a record that a lot of people probably, when Rolando said it, never thought it would be broken. And Bree has shattered it. And now he's sort of, not to look ahead a little bit, but now he's one of those guys you think maybe he could set the NCAA record for steals. And I don't think that's out of the realm. I think he's going to have to obviously be tremendously good in the next year and a half, but it's not out of the realm.
No question about it. We got a really good lineup here today. We mentioned we're bringing on Ed Sherman from the Sherman Report. Talk a little bit about the Super Bowl media coverage and, of course, the coverage that lies ahead for the Winter Olympics, which starts later this week. We're going to talk to your friend John Lugbill from Sports Backers. But up next, your women's lacrosse coach. They haven't started playing yet, but certainly she has been very, very busy. All that is ahead coming up on An Hour with Ed. We're live at Home Team Grill and the Fan on ESPN 950.
This gamified moment is brought to you by the British.
Winning's going to take care of itself. That's how I make it real. All right, what's next?
At Virginia Commonwealth University, research happens everywhere. From classrooms without walls to a campus without borders. All you have to do is jump in. VCU. Make it real.
VCU stand up. You don't want to go to war with the Rams. Join a group bigger than the Wu-Tang Clan. VCU alumni is key to victory. Gold has more benefits than Richmond has history. $25 is all it takes. Represent the Rams across the states. Discounts, pride, the benefits are stacked. Rolling with the Peppers, yeah, that's where it's at. Membership, that's the move. Build a Ram Nation, it's up to you.
I research and collect quotes. Those provide me with motivation, inspiration. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. John Keats said that. To grow, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice your gift. Do you have the propensity to be motivated from within? That's my version of making it real.
Here you go, Joey. You received your VCU alumni discount.
Rodney, you ready for the big game tonight?
Oh, I'm sorry, Rodney. The discount's only for VCU alumni members.
Man, it's alright. Let's go blow off some steam at the gym. Come on. Keep pushing, Rodney. I need one more rep from you. There you go.
Hey, you with the horns. Do you have your VCU alumni membership? Ram Nation, don't let this happen to you. Join VCU alumni today.
Look closely. Do you see a classroom? A lab? A studio? We do. At Virginia Commonwealth University, learning happens everywhere. Where will you make it real?
While Campbell was discovering what she wants to be when she grows up, Nurse Kathy was discovering ways to make sure leukemia never keeps her from being a kid. Children's Hospital of Richmond at VCU, discovering the best care for kids.
And I'm judged, obviously, in the media by wins and losses. I understand that, but that's not my number one goal. My number one goal is to help our guys.
If I haven't said it enough, it's half-price burger night. So while you do this next interview, I may order up a burger for me and our guest.
Yeah, but new menu too here, but half-price burgers are always good for everybody.
Great stuff. Why don't you do the honors?
Absolutely. So we have our the first women's lacrosse coach in the history of Virginia Commonwealth University, Jen O'Brien. Jen, welcome to the program. So, Jen, let's get right to it. You went to UMBC. How many people refer to UMBC to you as you made a bad choice?
Or you must be crazy.
Yep,
lots of them. Lots of them.
Wow.
I say you made the best choice. That's what I say.
Not anymore. Not anymore. We'll
Very
have to come up with something else,
Very
right?
true.
Well, it's really a really big deal. Obviously, we added the women's lacrosse program, went through the process, and brought you here last spring. And how many people say to you, so how's the team going right now?
A lot. And I don't know if they're referring to the club team or, what we're going to be doing in 2 years, but they do. That's a common question.
But you had a big weekend this past weekend.
Yes. We had our 8 committed seniors who will be in next fall. They came in for their official visit with their families, and they completely hit it off. They had a great time. We have an awesome group. They got along really well, which can be tough with
Absolutely.
8 girls.
Yep.
So it was nice to see that, and I'm really excited. Re-energized me for sure.
When you started to go through this process, so, we're recruiting this year. Mm-hmm. We will play a club schedule next year, and then play a varsity schedule in the spring of 2016. When you started going through this process, what were you looking for in our recruits and the young women you were recruiting? It's a tough one, but because they're not going to really play a varsity schedule next year. I mean, what were you looking for in them to get this whole thing going?
I think competitors, and that's something I know you told me when I came for my interview,
Good answer.
is that you want to win, and I wanted to bring in winners and people who wanted in their first year to win an A10 conference championship, which we can, and that was put out there from the beginning. And I think that they really do have this first year to grow, and they might be a little bit more immature, or young in other ways. Yep. So this first year is going to be really good for them.
They're eager.
Yes, they are.
They're eager. There's no two ways about that.
No, they're not. And I think having this first year that it's going to kind of hit them. So fall of 2015, they're going to be ready to go.
Well, and taking over the club team as well, and coaching the club team, and having some of our freshmen play with the club team, what kind of dynamic does that present for you as a coach?
It'll be interesting. I think we have a great core on the club team that are excited to work with our recruiting student athletes, because those recruited players will absolutely bring up the level of play, and they're eager as well. They want to compete. They were just as excited as the local recruits that we were going to go varsity. Right. So they're trying to show off and prove to me every day that they can make the team.
Well, you talk about local recruits. When we added this program, a big part of it was this is geographically probably a really good place for this, right? Mm-hmm. So how much have you looked at the state of Virginia as this is a really good recruiting hotbed for us?
It is, and my goal is to not let the talent leave the state, and I think we can do that.
And don't let them go to Charlotte either, 'cause they're really, let's not let that happen.
No, we'll keep them just in Richmond.
Okay, good. but that's going to be a big part of it. I mean, as you look at it in recruiting, young women to come play here and go to school here, keeping them home is a big deal.
It is, and I stayed close to home, so it's easy for me when I'm talking to these girls that you can really make it as close or as far away as you want to. It's nice having the perk of going home and doing your laundry and getting nice meals, but you don't need to go home every weekend.
No.
Are you seeing the geographic footprint for lacrosse expand?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just in the 8 we have coming in next year, we have Florida, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, all over the East Coast, and then talking to girls in Colorado and Texas and all the places like that. So it absolutely is, and it's an exciting time.
What drew you to VCU, and what and that is going to draw them to VCU?
For me, it's the people, and that shines through every time I have a recruit on campus.
Yeah.
They see the friendly people, throughout the city, throughout the campus, the support that they will receive, through the athletic department and within, the university, and that far and away blows everybody away every time they come here.
Well, and you had your first recruiting official visit the weekend or whatever. What were some of the questions you got from the kids as they were on campus? Or maybe even the parents probably asked better questions.
Yeah, they want to know how safe it is, for sure. Right off the top.
Yep.
And I was glad we had some of the members from the other programs here that were able to speak to that. They want to know about classes and, if the professors are going to be mean, if they miss for traveling.
All the professors are going to be mean.
Yep, and that's what I tell them. Just, at least set their expectations low from the start.
That's right. Well, you talk about our department, and we talk all the time about that we're all a team. And,
exactly.
How much of the other coaches, we've had a bunch of the coaches on the show, and from a guy like Coach Costin who's been here since the early 1900s to coaches who have just gotten here. I mean, how much has that helped you get adjusted?
They've been unbelievable. From setting up even just plans for the official visit, or I think especially the female teams that are at VCU, they've set the bar high, and I've seen what they've done. The new coaches in their first year, and the coaches that are established, they work hard, and that's something I need to keep up with, and I'm excited to do that.
And you have Pat Stauffer, who was our field hockey coach for a long time as your supervisor, and that's going to help a lot because Pat's got a lot of contacts as well.
Yes, and I think she might even be more excited than I am that when lacrosse is going to be here. She is super excited. She's wonderful with the student athletes. I'm excited to be working with her.
So this spring,
yes,
you don't have this has been going to be the first spring in a long time that you won't be putting the ball in the air and ready to go.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? I mean, I would assume you're going to be out recruiting a little bit.
Yes.
But what are you going to be doing?
I'm definitely recruiting, and it's going to be awesome. This is going to be one of the first springs in 5 years that I'm going to be getting out to high school games because it doesn't conflict with the spring practice times.
Yep.
So that's a huge plus. Flying wherever I can to see these high school games.
Yep.
And working with the club team, they keep me on my toes. So it'll be good spending some time with them as well.
And I'm sure it's been a big adjustment for them to have a coach who has a varsity level expectation for them. And I'm sure some of them bristled against it, but some of them probably said, "This is pretty great."
They are sponges. I see it every single day. They're eager. They're nodding. They're smiling. They're enjoying it, and they're learning. And I hope improving every single day.
You hope.
I hope. We'll see. I have a year and a half with them. So if I'm not doing my job, if they don't get better.
Right. And what type of teams are you playing next year, club-wise? Like, how far away will you go and all that?
We'll stick pretty local next year, but the plan is in the fall to get to some fall tournaments, against potentially some Division 1, 2, and 3 opponents. George Mason has a really great fall tournament, and so hit those local teams, and I know they're going to want to test this out before we go into the A10 and see what we have. So there's definitely some options.
And so if you look, we have next year's club, and the following year's our first varsity season. You look ahead 5 years.
Yes.
And you could put the crystal ball in and say, this is success right here in 5 years. What does it look like?
Reigning A10 champions for sure. Reigning a couple years. And because that gets us to the NCAA tournament, and so that's an easy goal every year is shooting for that. I think it's 1,000% doable, and then going into further and further, deeper and deeper each year in the NCAA tournament.
Great stuff. Jen, we're really excited for you.
Me too.
Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thank you, guys.
Great stuff. Let's take a quick time out. When we come back, we're going to take a look back at Super Bowl media coverage and look ahead to the Winter Olympics with Ed Sherman of Sherman Report. That's all coming up. We're live at Home Team Grill and the Fan on ESPN 950.
What is habit? For the Rams.
and by the time they get out of here, really realize the potential that they have. If we do that with each one of our players, then winning's going to take care of itself. That's how I make it real. All right, what's next?
At Virginia Commonwealth University, research happens everywhere. From classrooms without walls to a campus without borders. All you have to do is jump in. VCU, make it real.
VCU stand up. You don't wanna go to war with the Rams. Join a group bigger than the Wu-Tang Clan. VCU alumni is key to victory. Gold has more benefits than Richmond has history. $25 is all it takes. Represent the Rams across the states. Discounts, pride, the benefits are stacked. Rolling with the Peppers, yeah, that's where it's at. Membership, that's the move. Build a Ram Nation, it's up to you.
I research and collect quotes. Those provide me with motivation, inspiration. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. John Keats said that. To grow, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice your gift. Do you have the propensity to be motivated from within? That's my version of making it real.
Here you go, Joey. You received your VCU alumni discount.
Rodney, you ready for the big game tonight?
With us here tonight at Home Team Grill and the Fan. We'll have the Shaka Smart radio show at the top of the hour, right here on ESPN 950 and Sports FM 100.5. Obviously, more people watch the Super Bowl than ever before. Record-breaking audience. Great job by Fox. And the Winter Olympics are right around the corner. Two big media events in the sports world. So I'll bring in a guy. I read his website every single day. Sherman Report. Go to ShermanReport.com. He's also got a great new book that's coming out in a couple of weeks called Babe Ruth's Called Shot. Great to have on the show Ed Sherman. How are you, Ed?
Great. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
No, really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you coming on the show, Ed. And as we like to always say, two Eds are better than one, so we're having a little fun today, you know?
Okay, great.
Well, the first question, I guess, I think people come off the top of the Super Bowl is, were you surprised at the ratings? I mean, the ratings set a record, and the game was less than interesting. I mean, and I would say that the ads were less than interesting as well. I mean, and it set a record for live streaming as well. I mean, were you surprised at that? How much did that surprise you?
Yeah, a little bit surprised, but probably in retrospect, I shouldn't have been. I mean, it really kind of just shows you that it really doesn't matter who's playing in the Super Bowl, what kind of game it is, and people are going to watch. I mean, it's like a holiday. It's an American holiday. It's probably the one day out, aside of Christmas and New Year's Day and Thanksgiving, when everyone just kind of sits and really just veggies and is together, and it's kind of like that's the point of the day. You're going to watch that game, regardless of. You're going to watch, eat, and regardless of the score, you're going to stay with that game. I mean, it really kind of that was really an eye-opening moment. I think obviously with a better game, the rating might have been a few ticks higher, but I mean, it's kind of I think it wouldn't have been much higher. I think people who were watching basically stayed with that game.
Hey, what did you think of the job that Fox did on the overall game, the pregame production, all that stuff?
Yeah, I think for the game itself, I kind of thought, it's really hard to grade them, on their game coverage when, the game was over basically in the first play, and definitely by the first play of the second half when Harvin ran that touchdown back. I mean, they were in film mode. And so I thought, they did fine. I like Buck and Aikman. And let's say, the pregame show is always going to be this overblown, mishmash of stuff, and I'm really not an advocate of that whole of why we need to see the president be interviewed, on Super Bowl Sunday, and especially the type of interview that O'Reilly did, where it just kind of was, when you think about the placement of that interview, here you had this pretty hard-hitting, contentious interview with the President of the United States. The preceding segment was a song by Philip Phillips. I mean, what's that all about? I mean, it just didn't make sense to me. And yet, having said all that, I mean, the pregame show averaged for 4 hours 23 million viewers.
Amazing.
I mean, it's just an astounding number for an afternoon pre-game show, so it just shows you how people really, it's an all-day experience for a lot of people watching that game.
Well, and no Terry Bradshaw on the pregame show.
Yeah, and that was really unfortunate, and and I wrote that, and I think obviously it cost them their, I mean, they tried, but you can't replace that energy and kind of the craziness, the unpredictability, and also, his pedigree. I mean, the guy was in 4 Super Bowls. He knows how to win Super Bowls.
Well said, yeah.
And it was a shame, and I think it also kind of gives you a glimpse of how much he's going to be missed. He's in his 60s, how much longer is he going to do this? And there's going to be some big shoes to fill when he does eventually retire.
The thing that I felt was lacking after the national championship game on in ESPN this year for football was there's no megacast. That you didn't have a bunch of different options, and Fox has those options with Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports 2. Is that something that's going to happen soon, or is it people just going to go with the game? I mean, I would have loved to have sit and listen to 4 NFL coaches talk about it.
Probably, I think you're right. I think that's going to happen soon. I think the megacast was something that we saw at the for the BCS game, and I think Fox. I think that I would not be surprised if NBC did something similar next year. They have the Super Bowl. You're going to see something similar for the Final Four with 3 different the Final Four Saturday with 3 different telecasts of that game with home team announcers along with the national call on CBS. So. Yeah, you're going to see. It's going to change. I don't think maybe Fox wasn't in position to move as quickly, but I think that's going to be the standard of seeing these multiple platform for these big events, and it's going to come sooner than later. It worked. I mean, it needs a lot of tweaking, but there's definitely some great viewing options for that BCS game.
We're on with Ed Sherman from ShermanReport.com, and Ed, you had a story on your blog about Russell Wilson and his star power, and obviously the folks here in Richmond have known that for a while, but how much does that resonate nationally with folks?
I think he's going to be huge. I think that he is going to be, especially if this team continues to win, and there's no reason why, they're a young team and they seem that they're going to be intact. I mean, he was on Letterman last night. I mean, he's the one guy. I mean, he loves the camera. He loves to talk. He's very charismatic. He's, extremely well-spoken, a great interview. The media love him. I mean, he's kind of like following the template of Peyton Manning. I don't know if he's going to be that kind of a player, but if he's playing in these big games and these showcase, I mean, you're going to see him be a big media star as far as endorsements, and I guarantee you the networks already have their eye on him. I'm hoping, I'm sure he hopes that he doesn't have to start thinking about that till about 2030. And whenever he does retire, I think he's going to be the kind of guy, especially now that he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's going to be, if he wants to, he's going to be a lead announcer for one of those NFL networks who cover whatever the platform is in 2030 or whatever. Who knows how we're going to be watching games? But I think he's going to have definitely be in much demand. He was, in my mind, he is going to be the big winner coming out of that Super Bowl.
Well, you talked about the networks and the star power. I mean, obviously the NFL's Thursday night package is up, and I want to get your thoughts on the Thursday night package and the league's end game, but certainly can see him as kicking off a Thursday night game next year.
Yeah, right.
Oh, well, they'll definitely be on NBC's as the first game, and Seattle will be on the. They'll be featured in that first game, especially with that atmosphere there. I think you're going to be seeing a lot more Seattle now. I mean, they're going to become now especially games in Seattle, because that's going to be a focal point because it's such an unusual atmosphere. And Russell Wilson, being the kind of player he is a dynamic type player. It's exciting to watch. And you just see him when the lights are on in these interviews. He gets it, and it's going to carry him a long way.
Well, NBC obviously will fall in love with him, but they have something to worry about first, and that's the Olympics, which start this week. And anything new and innovative or fun that's going to come out of the Olympics this year?
Oh, I mean, they're going to have about a billion hours of coverage, and it's going to be, everything's going to be available live via online, and they're going to actually doing a lot more live feature stuff. I mean, all the figure skating. If you're a figure skating nut, you want to watch figure skating, you could watch it live this year.
Well, who isn't really? I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, that's what drives the sport.
I know,
What drives the Olympics. And they found through London that the people who watch the online thing, they come back. They are more likely to watch the primetime tapes than people otherwise, because you're invested into these games, and you want to see how NBC presents it in primetime. So I think the big question is whether or not people are going to. This is not a normal Olympics. You have unprecedented threats. I mean, very serious, really. I think there's a level of anxiety that we've never seen before in the Olympics. And also the whole thing with, Russia being their policies and some of the things that they're doing, and they're not, will Americans warm up to these games? I think that's a big question, and I know it's a concern of NBC, because, this is not going to be a warm and fuzzy Olympics.
Well, kind of going off that, I mean, how much do these security concerns change NBC's plan that they had, maybe 6 months ago or even 6 weeks ago? How much does that change it?
Well, I don't know if it changes anything. I think the concern is, is the security, going to be so overwhelming that it stifles the atmosphere of the games. And, having been to an Olympics, the atmosphere is unlike anything you've seen.
Absolutely.
Experience, because it's just, you do have this feeling of joy in the world coming together. And so I think that they're concerned about that. But they also, they're not going to say it, but I'm sure they have plans in place in case the worst case scenario happens, and what happens, then they have a complete news team over there, and I wrote. Just got finished writing about journalists who are over there, veteran journalists admitting that they're apprehensive about going over there and covering the Olympics because of the possibility of what happens. And I think that everyone is going to be very happy on February 23rd when you have a closing ceremonies, and hopefully nothing happens, and everyone's going to breathe a big sigh of relief and then get out of there as quickly as they can. I mean, you're talking about an area that is, I don't want to say a war zone, but it's not a safe place. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in that region right now.
Yeah. Well, people will come back and go from the really, really hard Sochi accommodations and all the political strife and all that, and they'll come back and they'll come into spring training. Baseball is back. Everything will be fine again. And I know you have a new book out about one of our favorite sports, about Babe Ruth. So tell us a little bit about the book.
Well, I wrote a book about Babe Ruth's famous called shot home run in Wrigley Field in 1932, Game 3 of the 1932 World Series. It was kind of the seminal moment of his career, and the question of whether it's always been a question of whether or not he would point to center field and then hit the next pitch, exactly where he pointed. So I kind of, it's one of the great questions that's been debated, and so I look at all aspects of leading up to that moment. I mean, it was not only was it an incredible moment, but there was an incredible set of circumstances that kind of set up that moment. And then following, what did people say? I mean, it's interesting that I have a chapter on eyewitnesses, and it's like the Democrats and Republicans. If you look like a map of the United States, they're split. People who were there say he pointed, and people who were there who said he didn't point, that he was pointing at the Cubs dugout. And one of the great thrills that I had was actually getting a chance to talk to Babe Ruth's daughter, or his adopted daughter, is still alive. I mean, it's hard to believe. She's 96 years old, Julia Stevens, and she's still alive. And while she wasn't at the game, she definitely listened to it and heard tales of the game. And that was a great thrill for me. And also another eyewitness who was at the game was former Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens was at the game.
Wow!
And it meant so much to him. I talked to him in his chambers. That event meant so much to him that he had a drawing of the called shot hanging in his chambers with the scorecard.
That's
so,
right.
I mean, it was just a neat thing to cover, and there's a lot of twists and turns, and I kind of try to unravel the story.
The book comes out in a couple weeks, right? It will be available on Amazon.
It's actually available right now on Amazon, and it will be out in bookstores in a few weeks.
We want to encourage all the folks. We got a ton of baseball fans here in Richmond. It's called Babe Ruth's Called Shot, the myth and mystery of baseball's greatest home run. And I know it's getting great reviews. There was a really nice spread in the New York Post this weekend. So I know you're a super talented writer, and I'm excited to read the book.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words.
Ed, thanks so much, man. Enjoy the Olympics, and thanks for coming on. We'll talk to you again down the road. Truly appreciate it.
Anytime. Give me a call. I enjoyed it. Thanks.
Thanks. Ed Sherman does a fabulous job, and that's, he's a lifelong Chicagoan. Is that what you say?
Sure.
Chicagoan?
Yeah,
Maybe
sure.
I made that up. So originally, I always forget that was at Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
That's why he wrote it.
Absolutely.
I mean, not because he likes the Yankees.
No.
Certainly, he's a lifelong native of Chicago. But that's one of those great myths in baseball. And you're a big baseball guy, so you know.
Yeah. And you really, Greg, I mean, as a baseball guy, you want to believe that it happened. You want to believe that he called the shot. Baseball is so great with stories, and you want to absolutely believe that he called it. But I think it's a really fascinating topic, and talented guy writing it too.
Great stuff. Let's take a quick time out. We will come back, and we're going to bring in a good friend of VCU Athletics and a guy who is certainly very important to the sports community here in Richmond. John Lugbell, the Executive Director of Sports Backers, is up next right here. This is An Hour with Ed, live from Home Team Grill and the Fan on ESPN 950.
Hey, Richmond,
Discounts only for VCU alumni members.
Man, it's alright. Let's go blow off some steam at the gym. Come on. Keep pushing, Ronnie. I need one more rep from you. There you go.
Hey, you with the horns. Do you have your VCU alumni membership? Ram Nation, don't let this happen to you. Join VCU alumni today.
Look closely. Do you see a classroom? A lab? A studio? We do. At Virginia Commonwealth University, learning happens everywhere. Where will you make it real?
While Campbell was discovering what she wants to be when she grows up, Nurse Kathy was discovering ways to make sure leukemia never keeps her from being a kid. Children's Hospital of Richmond at VCU, discovering the best care for kids.
And I'm judged, obviously, in the media by wins and losses. I understand that, but that's not my number one goal. My number one goal is to help our guys be the best they can be, and by the time they get out of here, really realize the potential that they have. If we do that with each one of our players, then winning's going to take care of itself. That's how I make it real. All right, what's next?
At Virginia Commonwealth University, research happens everywhere. From classrooms without walls to a campus without borders. All you have to do is jump in. VCU, make it real.
VCU stand up. You don't want to go to war with the Rams. Join a group bigger than the Wu-Tang Clan. VCU alumni is key to victory. Gold has more benefits than Richmond has history. $25 is all it takes. Represent the Rams across the states. Discounts, pride, the benefits are stacked. Rolling with the Peppers, yeah, that's where it's at. Membership, that's the move. Build a Ram Nation, it's up to you.
research and collect quotes. Those provide me with motivation, inspiration. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. John Keats said that. To grow, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice your gift. Do you have the propensity to be motivated from within? That's my version of making it real.
Here you go, Joey. You received your VCU alumni discount.
Rodney, you ready for the big game tonight?
Oh, I'm sorry, Rodney. The discount's only for VCU alumni members.
Man, it's alright. Let's go blow off some steam at the gym. Come on. Keep pushing, Rodney. I need one more rep from you. There you go.
Hey, you with the horns. Do you have your VCU alumni membership? Ram Nation, don't let this happen to you. Join VCU alumni today.
Look closely.
To our next guest, a good friend, certainly, of the Richmond sports community and VCU athletics.
Yeah, the executive director of Sports Backers, Mr. John Lugbill. John, welcome to the program.
Great to be here, Ed. Greg, another great evening.
Thanks for coming by, man.
John, we'll get right into it. I was looking through my Runners World calendar, and I'm planning out my runs for the next 3 months because I am that OCD. and what do I see on March 29th in the Runners World calendar of all the races that could be there? What do I see on March 29th?
Yeah, you see the UCrops Monument Avenue 10K.
I definitely see that.
That's really neat.
Starts right outside your office in the Siegel Center.
So,
certainly doing the loop out on Monument Avenue and then ending up in the campus down on Monroe Park. It is very much a great event for the black and gold.
It is. It is. USA Today named it today one of the 14 must-do races in America, and if we are not still playing basketball at that point, I will hope that I can find some way to get in and get registered. I maybe need to know someone to get a number, but I mean, what's the big draw? People say it's the biggest block party in Richmond. People say it's the race to do. What's the big draw of the UCrops 10K?
Well, USA Today had a great comment in there. They actually said it was ridiculously awesome fun. So
work that in. That's pretty
that
good.
one we can use again, and it is. It's crazy. The community loves Monument Avenue, so they're very proud of it. And then when you get the whole way, the positive vibe, whether it's raising money for the Massey Cancer Center, whether it's the crazy dressed up runners, the 30 bands that are lining the course, pumping you up with energy. The Peppers were out there last year with their tubas and everything, and there's just, it's non-stop entertainment. People come out there, they're used to running with their iPods, and people still have iPods, running with their iPods, and
they're Walkmans, they're Sony Walkmans.
They're Sony Walkmans, and they take them out, and they're like, "Oh my God, I had no idea how much fun and excitement is out there." My wife last year was like, it felt like 30,000 people were screaming for me, running by. So it's pretty neat.
Well, and 25,000 people are already registered. Most people say, "Wait, wow, that's a lot, 25,000 people." And what do you say to that?
Yeah, we got 15,000 open slots. So Ed, we got one more down.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, how do folks register? I mean, if you're interested in running the race, you haven't registered yet, how do people do that?
Yeah, you just Google UCrops Monument Avenue 10K or anything close to that, and you'll be able to find us. But it's just sportsbackers.org, and you can go there and register.
Well, and there's certainly the Monument Ave 10K is a big one, the UCrops Monument Ave 10K, but it's not the only thing that you guys do. Obviously, one of the largest things you do, but certainly tell our folks sort of a swatch of all the different things that you guys do and programs that you run.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the UCrops Monument Avenue 10K is the 23rd largest running race in the world, so it is something we do that is pretty big. We put on the Dominion River Rock Outdoor Festival down in Browns Island. It's the largest outdoor sports and music festival in the country, so it's really phenomenal in itself. The Anthem Richmond Marathon in the fall is another huge event. We had just shy of 20,000 people last year. Basically the 16th largest marathon in the country. So to have these major events here is a big deal, but we really have taken it to another level with trying to figure out how we can leverage these events and these programs that we have to make the community be more active. And we've done a bunch of things over the last few years to help with corporate wellness, help get schools more active. We have active RVA corporate and school certification. We have a new program to improve biking and walking in the area. When you're down here in the fan, there's people biking and walking all over the place. How can we get that more throughout the community, and how can it be safe? We just had Meg Menzies tragically die up in Hanover County, and people would be like, yeah, well, it's unsafe to be out there running. That's a dangerous place. Well, we need to have a community that it is safe to run in.
Absolutely.
We need to have places all over the community where it's safe to be out there and running, and whether that requires some new trails and new bike lanes and new sidewalks and new things, we're going to be working to do that. So in the end, Richmond right now is one of the 20 most active communities in the country. I think we're ranked 18th, but we want to be number one in this. And it's not to be number one in it like you want to be number one in basketball. It's number one because we want our friends and relatives and people in our community to have a healthy lifestyle. They'll live longer and they'll have a better quality of life. And it's really that simple. It's fun. You know, we're out there having a blast, and it helps us live longer and a better life.
Ed, for some historical perspective, you know, when Sports Backers was first formed, John, you've told this story to me many times, but you were a sports commission in the traditional sense where you were trying to recruit events to come to Richmond, and you sort of had an enlightened moment several years ago that maybe that wasn't the best course of action for Sports Backers.
Yeah, it was a couple things kind of slapped us in the face to get us to that reality. One, our facilities were getting older. So, you know, when we had the ice game, famous ESPN game here when we got iced out with Virginia and Michigan State, you know, you're not bringing a major basketball tournament to the Richmond Coliseum at that point. You know, we had taken over the Richmond Marathon, and it started to grow. We had the Ucrops Monument Avenue 10K had started, and people really liked that. And we're kind of like, wait a second. You know, the city stadium's not getting any younger. It's almost impossible to draw anything to there. The Coliseum's not getting any younger. You know, if we're competing with other cities, it's hard to draw things there. What do we have that really is great? Well, what we have is a lot of wonderful natural attributes. So when you look at the riverfront, you look at our parks, and you look at these natural amenities we had, we're like, well, let's start creating events in these places. Let's start pushing that. And so that changed us. That made us be a sports commission that looked at creating events, and then we started helping others in the community create their own events, and now over 40 different sports tourism events occur annually here by locally owned groups like the Sports Backers and others that have really transformed sports tourism. It now is no longer something that's like, what are they talking about? No, I mean, now it's like, of course, it's a huge industry.
Well, and people talk all the time. When I first got here, it was, well, Richmond's not a sports town. And I would say that not only is Richmond a sports town, but it's a sports town for whatever sport you want to do. I mean, it really is. I mean, you guys do so many programs, and you make it easy. You know, the marathon training program, people get all nervous about it, but it's all a wide range of ages, a wide range of running abilities. It makes it for everyone to be able to do.
And people want us to have Major League sports here. You know, they want us to have, Major League Baseball or the NBA and whatever.
I don't think Parney could handle Major League Baseball.
But we're 2 hours down the road from D.C.
I agree.
And so that's just not really on our plate.
Yep.
So let's make the best of what we got. And we're on an incredible roll. I mean, there is stuff going on around here that's just awesome. And, you know, when you really step back and look at what VCU, and I don't want to really talk about the other guys in town, but, you know, they're a pretty good basketball team themselves. And they've done some really nice things. And then you put on top of that with RIR being here and
Flying Squirrels.
The Flying Squirrels, and, you know, they are a real class act. And so, you know, it really adds up. So being a great sports community is more than whether, you know, your team wins the Super Bowl. Maybe the quarterback came from here. But, you know, it really is. It's about participating and being active and taking part ourselves.
Well, and you mentioned, you know, the community. I mean, you guys are raising money for Massey. Obviously, it's one of the most notable names in the community, and I think the nice part about Richmond is that people do sports activities and games or whatever. They do it to help others, and that's really a big part of it.
Well, Massey Cancer Center is, first of all, wonderful to work with, and if you've lived in this community for long, you've had somebody that's undergone treatment there. It's just unfortunate that cancer is just such an awful disease, and it impacts so many. But really, talking to Dr. Ginder at Massey, we went to him and said, we have this new effort to really make the community more active, and he goes, you know what? We're going to start changing our messaging. 1 in 7 forms of cancer could be prevented by a healthy lifestyle. And he's like, we are here to have healthy people. We're not here to just cure cancer. We want people not to get cancer in the first place. So prevention. If we can prevent 1 in 7 visits to our office, we want to do that. So Dr. Ginder jumped right in, and I mean, what an awesome cause. And so, yeah, we're hoping to raise $500,000 this year, and it's amazing. We have thousands of people donating from $1 to up to hundreds of dollars, and we certainly encourage people to support the Massey Cancer Center Challenge through the UCrops Monument Avenue 10K.
Take us through the next little bit of time for you between now and March 29th. What is your life like trying to get ready for this race? I'm focused on the longer term usually. I'm usually focused at least 6 months or a year out. But the UCrops Monument Avenue 10K is our signature event, and it has the biggest impact on the community. When you look at, we have a thing, we're trying to get 10,000 newbies, 10,000 people that have never done a running event before, and we already have 6,800 signed up. That's great.
So,
that's amazing.
To get people off the couch and get them moving, there's nothing better than the UCrops Monument Avenue 10K.
You've got an amazing staff, and I'll kind of toot the horn for the Center for Sport Leadership, because you got 2 people that you lean on a lot that are graduates of the CSL, and Megan Schultz and Pete Woody, a couple other CSL grads working over there as well. But your staff is incredible, and I know they're really the backbone of the sports backers.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave out Nan Turner, and we have Robbie over there right now. But it is great. It's great that the VCU Center for Sports Leadership is cranking out such top talent, and Megan Schultz is just one of our incredible rising stars. And Pete Woody has our Active RVA Awards luncheon next week, and he's put together this whole Active RVA scorecard. He's becoming one of the experts on corporate wellness in the whole community. Wow. So it's really incredible how things work together, and how it's really amplifying the impact in the community.
Great stuff. John, thank you, man. And again, want to encourage everybody, go to sportsbackers.org, and you can register for the UCrops Monument Avenue 10K. I've always said, if running at 7 a.m. in the morning was as energetic as the 10K, I'd do it more often.
Well, I think most of the fans for the VCU basketball are already in training. When you're down there and seeing everybody jumping down, up and down all that time during the games, they're doing a lot of their training already.
We are.
John, congratulations. Thanks, man. Really appreciate it. John Logbell, the Executive Director of the Richmond Sports Backers. And that's going to wrap up the show. Thanks to VCU Women's Lacrosse Coach Jen O'Brien and Ed Sherman. And, of course, Ed, we'll see you over at the Siegel Center Thursday night for VCU Rhode Island.
I will be there, and look forward to seeing all of our fans there as well.
Great stuff. Thanks so much again, of course, to John Logbell as well. This has been An Hour with Ed. Coming up at the top of the hour, the Shaka Smart Radio Show, live from Home Team Grill and the Fan on ESPN 950.
Walmart presents